What kind of bathing suits do you wear?
Really old ones because I can't find one I like now.
I cannot find bathing suits that I like now, and I had this one bathing suit top by, you know that brand Zarina?
No.
It was just comfortable. Like I hate bathing. They're so uncomfortable. Like if I tie the neck, then my neck hurts. I don't do underwire. My tits flop out this like they just all suck.
They all
But I
suck.
had this one top from Zarina that was so comfortable. It was so cute. It fit well. And then we went camping this weekend in the teardrop, and my bathing suit top fell on the trailer hitch, which was covered in grease. So the top is destroyed beyond saving, and the brand doesn't make bathing suits anymore.
Yeah, I have a huge, so a few years ago, probably like 2019, like I had a great swimsuit year. I found like 2018 and 2019 both. I found like three, over the course of those 2 years, like three or four swimsuits, right? And also like I was in a great place with my body then too, so they looked good, right? And so I bought a bunch of swimsuits, and then since then I haven't been able to find any swimsuits that I like at all. I can't have anything tied behind me like that. Or like if there's a swimsuit that like doesn't rely on that to stay up but just has that as like a feature, then I can do that loosely. But if it relies on it to stay up, that doesn't work for me because it pulls
No.
down on my neck.
Correct.
I can't do triangle boobs. That doesn't work for me.
No.
It needed to. I don't like the look of the ones that are just kind of like sports bras, but I need it to functionally kind of be like that, though look prettier. So like I have one that's kind of like that, but the way the straps kind of separate, it doesn't look like that, right? I have like a wide shoulders and like a sort of broad chest here, but not big boobs per se,
Right.
right? And so and then my bottom half is smaller than my top half. The
Correct.
whole thing is just a fucking nightmare. And then like some of the materials are weird that they make them with. Like I had the one swimsuit that I have left of that one, that all of them have fallen apart or broken or don't fit anymore. The one that still sort of works for me is this like material that sort of gets loose and stretchy when it's in the water, so that I look like I have like a load of shit in my pants. You know what I mean? It looks fine when it's dry, right? Like when I'm just laying out on the side, but then as soon as you get wet, it like right? It's because it's stretched out a little bit. So yeah, the swimsuit thing is a problem.
It's such a problem. I don't know how to solve it at this point because a lot of the bathing suits that look cute, like they're not adjustable in the back. They just assume that we're all, and I'm like, I need a large top, a small bottom.
Yep, same
It's a
here.
disaster. But my new thing is when I'm out, like at hot springs or a public pool, and chicks wear the G strings, I just slip into Tourette's mode and I just go cheeks, 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 cheeks.
My new thing is like I'll when I like I because I also like to swim laps, but like I don't like any of the swimsuits that are lap suits. And sometimes I'll get a like a bikini that will stay on well enough to swim laps, but some of them don't really. So now if I want to swim laps, I just like hop in the pool and I get back from my run in my running clothes, right? And swim laps in my running clothes.
When I was swimming laps or whenever I do, I feel like Nike makes pretty good
Yep. Yep.
lap swimming suits, but even
Oh,
like it used to be I could rely on J. Crew for suits that I could wear, but they're all for like itty bitty 20-year-old titties,
yeah.
which is not what's happening here. So I'm feeling pretty screwed.
Yeah, I know. Every year I'm like, I don't think my swimsuit will last another year. Hopefully the fashions will be better next year, right? Oh, anywho, yes, so I understand. I have so you will never believe what happened this morning.
What
I
happened?
walked out into the living room and my father was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast.
Who was on? Why?
I don't think he was listening to like a new one. I think he was listening to the last time that Dave Smith was on, because some article he was reading linked to it talking about how like even Joe Rogan is in the right on this thing or in the right position on this thing, or whatever it is. But he listened to the whole thing and he was like, I agree with it. It was the weirdest thing ever because like my dad's narrative is that Joe Rogan is like a right wing conspiracy Trump lover or whatever,
Yes.
right? So he was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and that was shocking, but I was like, okay. So he was wanting to talk about that, so we were talking about that. And then I went out to lunch with my dad right before we did the show. We went to Petit Trois. Have you ever been to Petit Trois?
What is that? Petite
It's a
twat? Little twat, the little twat.
Twat, like 3?
Twat.
Twat.
Twat, I got it. Twat.
Not twat. The
Twat. You and your dad
3.
went to Little Twat.
Yeah, Little Twat. There you go. There's one in town, but there's one in the valley now too. It's a French place. It's so good. It was so
I don't
good.
like French food. It all has dairy. But while we're on the topic, Bridget is in the chat and is visiting LA. What do you recommend she does? Or where do you recommend she eats?
All right, let me see where are we in the chat? Here we go. Bridget Luckenbill. All right. I think mine is behind yours. I don't see said request. But
no, the request came through text on my phone, I was like, I blocked out LA.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember anything fun to do there.
Okay, if she's a friend of yours and she has your phone number, then you can feel free to give her mine and I will text with her about her desires.
Got it.
Yes. Okay, because I mean, I can curate whatever kind of dining experience you like. So, anywho, but yes, today's lunch at Petit Trois. Like I've been there many times, but today.
What did you have at the Twat?
I had they have like just the best omelet in the world. It's just like basically a cheese omelet with salad on the side, but every piece of lettuce is like perfectly dressed and perfectly seasoned, and the eggs are like very like souffle-y, and it's just delicious. I had that. My dad had duck confit, and then we had banana cream pie for dessert. It was so good. Which is not something I would normally order, but my dad wanted it, and this one was actually different than any I'd had before and really good. And then I had a delicious cocktail that was like a mezcal, cucumber, Fresno chili kind of cocktail. It was really spicy and smoky. It was delicious.
That sounds exciting. Yeah. You know what would be cool is if you did like a cocktail mix line that was all sweetened with monk fruit.
I mean, I've done this before. Like I used to make simple syrup like with xylitol, and then I got like not doing xylitol anymore. The issue is the good monk fruit. Like the only monk fruit that I really like is the monk drops.
Yep.
And like the amount that it takes to create like a simple syrup, it doesn't like cost wise is like a non-starter.
I pay way more.
Yes,
I pay premium prices.
For you, if you like, I'll make it for you.
Thank you.
But the other thing is like I just have figured out without necessarily having to do that. I don't really like drinks that are very sweet for the most part. Like there's maybe like one or two drinks that like, okay, like they're a little sweet, they're fine. I kind of figure out like the least sweet you can make them and still have them taste good, to the point where it's like virtually not very sweet at all. Right. So that's kind of the tack I take. I don't like to try and make adjustments to it that change the balance or the profile of the other things. And sometimes the weird sweeteners do that. Right. So anywho, so yeah, so I had a nice lunch with my dad, who's now listens to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's in the other room doing whatever he's doing, and we're here for the show, and I have clips. What about you?
Hooray!
You want your gymnastics treat first or last?
First.
Okay. Sometimes, like, we live it, like, the world is whatever it is, but sometimes I'm just like, fucking go humans, right? Check this out, dude. There we go. This guy did this last week.
What the fuck?
My goodness. What a pass. That is a different
They'll
strategy
show it again so you can
than
see it
we
one more
have
time.
seen.
Oh my God.
And that is
like
an
it.
extraordinary bit of difficulty.
What was that?
That was about 7 whipbacks straight into a triple twisting triple back.
Wow.
You want to see it again?
Yes, I do.
Somehow he did not win the gold medal, which I think is criminal.
The power
Wait, hold
that
on.
he generated was...
Is there a new men's event that I don't know about where they tumble?
This is acrobatics. This is like the tumbling and trampoline world championships.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
remarkable. And that dismount will be talked about in tumbling circles for years to come. Whipbacks all the way down. And then I believe it was a triple twisting, triple back. I'm not entirely certain, so
Look how straight he stays.
it's just there's so much. Yes, indeed. That's what it
center
is.
at all, dude.
A triple.
Wow.
That's crazy, isn't it?
That was incredible.
Absolutely insane.
We're so prone to like
Ah!
we're so prone to like the world is like fucked up and not as good as it used to be, but then like someone does something like that and it's like just no one did that before. That's impressive, right?
Okay, here's what happened to me today. Perhaps our audience will want to get in on this.
All right.
I went to pick up my mail at the mail place, and it was the two guys who normally work there training a new woman who was wearing a mask. And so I said, "Hey, Ben, are you okay? Do you need me to call law enforcement?" And he's like, "No, why?" I'm like, "It seems like you're being held up by a bandit right now." And then he's like, "No, I'm okay." And then the whole time I was getting my mail, and I'm like, "Blink twice if you need me to get you help."
Oh, you were texting him this. You weren't saying this to him in front
No,
of
I
him.
was saying it right in front of her. I'm sorry, if you're working wearing a bandit mask,
Right.
like they're going, it's why I say cheeks, cheeks, cheeks. Like if people who are behaving in ways that shatter the social contract, we
Right.
have to call it out. We cannot allow the normalization of this kind of mishigas.
Well, whether we do or not, we all enjoy watching you do it. So
Hey, when I was leaving, I heard him say, "No, don't worry, she's really nice. Trust me, she's nice."
about you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, probably you and the person in the bandit mask will become best friends one day, and you know.
I have a rule when I'm like, I will not look face diaper people in the eye because they're signaling that they don't want to be seen. So I am respecting that by ignoring them
Yeah.
or making fun of them.
I think that's fair enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So where should we start?
Let's start with the Tucker interview with the professor.
All right. Okay. So Tucker Carlson had this gentleman on last week named Dave Collum, who either I've never heard of him before, or if I have heard of him, it was so not memorable that I didn't remember, right? And for some reason, I started listening to it. I haven't been listening to too many Tucker interviews the last few weeks. And it was like, okay, so there was like a couple of things going on. It was like a lot of establishing this person's credentials, which led into a lot of like narcissistic storytelling and you know, self-aggrandizing and all of that kind of stuff.
For sure.
And he did start what the sort of main portion of the interview was this sort of conspiracy revisionist, like it was this, he was going through all of these things that we've been exposed to over the last several years, and what, you know, kind of being critical of that which they expected us to believe, but he's doing that sort of middle path thing where it's like he's questioning of the mainstream narrative, but the sort of idea that he's proposing is also either wrong or like a halfway, like a halfwayism type thing. And he's doing this. He did this with like 10 or 12 different scenarios and issues. And of course, like the people that he sort of props up as part of his revisionist narratives are people who, you know, tell some truth, but we have some questions about, for sure, ranging from people who tell some truth, but we have questions about, to people that we just have questions about. Right. And, but there was two clips that like there was two things that got me from the place of like, well, okay, well, maybe this is a person who like the system worked for, and now he's just waking up, and so he's just, this is as advanced as he's gotten, to what the fuck is this that I'm listening to after these two clips. So I'm gonna play these two clips, and I'm gonna play like the lead-ins for a few minutes to where the statements are made. So bear with us, and here we go. Fair using first clip, Dave Collum on Tucker Carlson. But my favorite thing was what you said about him, was like how he's like a math professor and an organic chemist and a gymnastics coach and a wrestling professor.
It's weird because I pulled clips from this interview, and like I told you, they disappeared. But I'm not sure if you pulled the clip about his son.
I have a clip about his son.
Okay, great. Then I'll hold my tongue until we get there.
It's interesting whenever somebody pops up, and this is so self-centered, but I know you think it too, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. Whenever someone pops up as part of the narratives, conspiracy-wise or whatever it is, and there's a gymnastics reference, I feel like it's a message aimed at us, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
And like YouTube, you see it rolls over 15 seconds and then it goes to the next YouTube.
Okay, let me just tell you what we're talking about here is like he goes through this period. They had just been going through all these conspiracies, sort of ending with some of his questions about the Las Vegas shooting. And I'm not going to play the whole part. I'm just going to play the part that sort of is easy to follow into the point.
And we're watching Vegas like you watch 9/11, right?
I just want to preface this, which a couple things that struck me as odd was one, that he sounds just like Tucker. He has that same voice. But I thought it was odd because since the Vegas shootings, and we've talked about that was when they sold Harvey Weinstein down the river, when all this other footage started to appear. I've never heard anyone talk about it since then. So I thought it was odd that he brought it up out of nowhere.
I mean, there's been depending on the threads you follow, in the past year and a half, there's been a revival of digging into the Las Vegas shooting.
Okay.
But also we need to remember that he's from Cornell University, which was where the original MK Ultra, that was one of the first universities that had an MK Ultra project at it with Jolyon West and whatever it is. And there's some foundations there that are used as cutouts in many of the numbered sub-projects that I'll be getting into in my series.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right. It was really 500 people. It is the biggest shooting since probably Gettysburg.
Yes.
Right. When was the last time you heard a gun antagonist say, "Remember Vegas? We got to get rid of guns"?
Never.
Right. And you know why. So it rolls to the next interview, and it's Mike Kroc, New Network, same guy. He tells the same story. Now he's looking a little more emotional, and his story changes just a little around the edges. And then it rolls to the next interview, and there's Mike Kroc again. And I go, why? You got 22,000 people, and why are you interviewing Mike Kroc? And then there were oddities that were always showing up, like some lady walking through the crowd saying, "You're all going to die tonight," and they carted her away and things like that. Yeah, weird stuff. And so I tried to figure out who Mike Kroc was. He's just some hick from Alaska. Right? He's just some hick from Alaska. After the fact, I looked and just picture him holding an elk by the horns, that he shot. The next day, the head of the police said, "There's no way one guy did it." The following day, he said one guy did it. Takes a long time.
Why are we allowed to say hick if we're not allowed to say Igernay, gay, fag, dyke, kike? Why is that allowed at this point? Because white people are hicks?
Fair question.
Okay.
Time to show one guy did it, right? That's something you don't know. There's a lot of debris before you figure that out. There's now a documentary called Route 41. So I dug into this. What I noticed is you stayed with the story for about 2 weeks, maybe, and you were bringing up, and Coulter jumped in, Paddock was making money. How? Playing video poker? That's the way he's making a living. That's like saying I'm a professional crackhead. And then what happens is there was shooting all over the place.
Why does every outdoor brand think I want to look?
Oh no. What happened here? How do I make it? What's happening? There we go. Okay.
There was shooting everywhere.
In the city that day.
In the city that night. And so now if you don't believe me, there's this documentary called Route 41, and they got stuff I didn't know about, but they also got stuff that so it's kind of an answer key for me to use academic terms. And if you watch Route 41, you will see there were shooters everywhere. There are cop cameras showing shooters. And then remember the guy got shot in the leg up on the floor where Paddock was?
Yes, the hotel
some guy named
employee.
Jesus or something,
Exactly.
right? Some illegal with 2 social security numbers. Hello. And then afterwards, reporters tried to get to his house. His house was being protected by cars that had no license plates. And then all of a sudden he goes to Mexico. And when asked, well, where'd he go? They said, well, he was planning a trip to Mexico. So when I wrote it, I said, oh, by the way, Jesus, when you get back, could you stop in? We've got some questions for you, right? And then he comes back and he does one interview on Ellen DeGeneres. And Ellen introduced him saying, and he's there with a handler I had already seen. I'm going, wait a minute. That guy, I've been seeing that guy a lot, that other guy. So Jesus is looking at his feet. His name isn't Jesus, but it's something like that. Ellen introduced him, this is the only interview you're going to do, and you got to get it off your chest. And I'm going, oh shit, here we go. And then the handler's doing all the talking. Jesus is looking at his feet. And then we never hear about Jesus again. Probably he's in some shallow grave somewhere because he's too inconvenient. But
I tried to interview him at the time.
Really?
Yes.
Couldn't get to him, could
you?
you?
He drove to Mexico from Vegas.
Right.
2 of them did.
Yeah, probably with an escort.
Yeah, then he came back, and I tried my hardest.
Now, Alan works for the company that owns Mandalay.
His handler.
Yeah. No, Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh, Ellen, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And so they're buttoning it down. Now, what you see from Route 41 videos is there just an enormous amount of chaos. There's enormous numbers of shooters. Even that night, you were seeing videos from cab drivers saying they're shooting over here, they're shooting over there. And there would be some chaos, but there's way too much. There's guys who took audios and said, here, bam, 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 here, that. And so you could hear multiple guns, the whole thing. So then what happened? Mike Kronk, I start reading trauma surgeons saying there's something wrong with the story. You know, if you get hit with, what was it, AR-15 or something?
Yeah. And a 308,
you're
rifle.
You're going to die out there. You're going to bleed out right there. Even if it doesn't hit a major artery, you're just going to turn your leg to jello.
3 chest wounds from a rifle?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So what would he look like? And so then I saw an interview of a young woman, and she's sitting there in a chair in the hospital, and they're interviewing her. I'm going, you look pretty perky. And then Mike Kronk with the news crew goes in and interviews his friend. Now, first and foremost, we know HIPAA says you ain't bringing a news crew into a hospital room. Second, we know 3 shots to the chest, he'd be in the ICU. The only way you'd know he's alive is that there'd be a beeping on the screen, and he'd have hoses coming out of every orifice, and he would look dead. And so they take the news crew and they interview his friend. He's got a nasal cannula. A nasal cannula. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh, so you're talking with 3 holes in your chest. What are you sticking your fingers so the air doesn't come flying out of your chest holes, right? And then I notice the screen's not even plugged in. Now, what is Mike Kronk now? He's a state senator from Alaska. In Alaska. I think he's a state-level state senator.
What?
Yeah. Who's the chief of police? He became governor of Nevada or something. Right? So again, there's a guy named John Cullen who did an analysis of the shooting, and his conclusion.
A relative?
A relative?
Yeah.
No, it's spelled different. John worked for Oracle. He's some on the spectrum code head. He also analyzed the Butler shooting, the audios of the Butler shooting.
He's an on the spectrum code head.
He's on the spectrum code head. He sort of bears down and grabs on something a little too firmly, I think, but he brings
as on the spectrum code heads.
Yeah,
do.
I know.
Yeah.
And there was pretty good evidence that a lot of the shooting was coming from helicopters behind the Mandalay, and he tracked the transponders turning on and off behind the Mandalay. The story was that Mohammed bin Salman was on the top floor.
The crown prince of ruler of Saudi Arabia.
Yes, a guy who lots of people would like to kill. And his theory is that the Saudis tried to flush him out of there, and on the way out, they would cap him. Now, they blew it. If that's the story, they blew it. I think the helicopter idea is not bad. But I did a couple of podcasts with John, and I said, John, but what about all the shooting on the ground? And John was kind of dismissive. I go, you can't dismiss it. You can't let that stuff go. Your model's got to include that. But it occurred a year later Mohammed, remember when Khashoggi got killed? What was his name? Jamal Khashoggi. Now, a non-Khashoggi is one of the most famous CIA guys on the planet. Jamal Khashoggi is the one who got diced up and fed to the camels.
Yeah.
Now, he's a New York Times reporter. I think he was also CIA.
Washington Post columnist. Yeah, and he was killed in
the embassy
in Istanbul, I believe.
Okay. Supposedly, on the anniversary of the Vegas shootings, supposedly Mohammed bin Salman had a party, locked the doors, and showed a video of him getting sliced up and said to the royal sitting in the room, don't even think about it. Now, when I wrote about Khashoggi, everyone was having a cow over Khashoggi, right, when he got killed. I'm going, we're killing tens of thousands of Yemenis. We killed 5 million people in the Middle East directly and indirectly due to our post 9/11 responses.
Yes.
Right. And I called him ODK, one dead Khashoggi. I said, it is insane to worry about one dead guy in a region of the world where people die for no reason all the time.
Who was at war with his own government, the Saudi government? I mean, I'm obviously not for vivisecting people, but I also think like there's a scale of evil, and starving kids is worse than what happened in Khashoggi. I agree with you.
Right. So you were the only mainstream guy who I watched steadily on the story, staying with the Vegas shootings, noting that there's something wrong.
We got very hassled by law enforcement.
I'm
in
sure
Las
you
Vegas,
did.
which was, I worked at Fox News, obviously, at the time, and big supporters of law enforcement. I've always been a big supporter of law enforcement. We've never gotten hassled anywhere. Just the opposite. Oh, you work for Fox News. Oh my gosh, of course. Slow down.
The official law enforcement is what got
Man. I mean, they blocked our camera position. Oh yeah. They were totally opposed to us doing that. I've never had that experience.
So let's stay on the shootings just briefly. Uvalde. There's problems all over that shooting. Remember that shooting in Texas where the guy got into the school?
I knew the mayor, yes.
There's problems all over the place because, first of all, there's something like 800 law enforcement guys within reach of the damn thing. And there's a town of like 5,000 people. And then they didn't go in for 78 minutes or something. I go,
remember.
Excuse me, you show me 10 cops, probably 8 of them have kids. Right now I'm reading a book called The Moral Animal. It's about human behavior.
Yep.
And out of those 8 would have gone into, I don't care what you say, I'm going in.
Of course.
You give me a soccer mom, she's going in, right?
100%.
And then there was the mom who did go in, and her story was incoherent. Her story, she came out and she said this, and then she said this, and it was not consistent.
Listen, if you've been in a car accident, don't.
So all of this is leading up to one very important statement. Oh man, why does this keep happening? Oh no, what did I do? How do I get out of that? What did I do? Uh-oh, hold on. Oh, I see. Okay, just go back to here. Okay, that was scary. I thought
And I'm going, that's just a narrative thrown on top of it.
So what are we looking at here? So
Kayfabe.
What does that mean?
Kayfabe is something Eric Weinstein wrote about. He's asked right.
right? So just so you guys understand, we're 54 minutes into the interview, and about 40 minutes of that was him going through all the conspiracies and sort of rewriting the narrative on some of them. And then finally, after hearing 12 of these stories, Tucker asks him what we're looking at, and he says, Eric Weinstein says kayfabe. Right? So I'm so sorry. Since the dawn of YouTube and before that, there's been plenty of people deconstructing all of these events and, talking about what's wrong with them and proposing theories and ideas as to sort of what the techniques are and what the purpose is. But somehow it took Eric Weinstein for us to know what it is.
Well, I don't know how much more you're going to play, but I was surprised at how much I liked him and liked what he was sharing until he got to the parts where I didn't. But
that's what he did the whole time.
Correct. But the piece that caught my attention before, I think it was before this, was when not just mentioning Walter Kern,
Right.
but the way that he mentioned Walter
Correct.
Kern as though it was like a specific way of making meaning of reality is like a Kern.
Because Kern is responsible for explaining the Mangione situation to us, right? It's right, and now and Eric explains to us how conspiracy narratives work, right?
Right. But the reason it struck me as odd is like, yes, we watch the show with Matt Taibbi, but I don't think Walter Kern is like some big famous meaning maker that like his perspectives on things are worthy of their own kind of catchphrase. But the other reason why it felt noteworthy is because Kern was on Big Nose, Bill Maher. So I'm like, okay, they're clearly prepping Kern to take a bigger role in guiding the people where they, they want the people led.
They're just part of the same team as Eric and Brett and whatever it is. It's like, we have a problem. Our narratives, too many people are not buying them anymore, right? There's too many conspiracy theorists. There's been too many analysis videos and whatever it is. So we need to find like this sort of halfway team that's about consensus building to come in and be the new standard bearer of the narratives that we will expect people to buy because they're slightly closer to truth or whatever it is than the thing they were being asked to believe before. And it's like part of the demoralization campaign. Like, you can get nothing or you can get this one bone. We're throwing you a bone of like, 26% truth or whatever it is, right? I'm going to play a little bit more just so you can see sort of what he says about Eric Weinstein and kayfabe.
But I also just want, but wait, but I just also want to tie it up with like, and I know we're going to go deeper into Whitney a little bit, but into Walter's unhinged rant about Whitney, which never really made sense to you. And like, it's just been this ongoing question mark about Walter. And it seems like they're prepping him to be like an Ian, an Eric.
Yeah, I mean, what this whole thing feels like, and I've thought this for a long time, but you sort of see it, you have this idea, and then you start to see the things happening to form this picture that you figured it was going towards, right? That I think that there's a factional war going on, right? I think that there's a lot of people who've been sort of in cahoots for a long time. But within that group, there are factions, and some of the factions have decided that they're either not in agreement with the extreme goals of some of the rest of the faction or something like that. And so they're like, yeah, like, I'm for, guarding our place in the oligarchy and the hierarchy, but like not at quite this level of expense of just doing things that are like that fucking impossible to keep people from seeing on the videos or whatever it is. We want a slightly more sanitized version. We want like, a more humane global oligarchy or whatever it is. And I'm starting, and it's there could be many reasons why somebody might join that group, right? Some might be doing it because they think, well, this is actually the farthest we'll really be able to get away with something, and I want to get away with stuff. So that. Others might really be thinking, well, we know how bad the other people are, and I just want to be more humane, so I'm going to pretend like this is the whole truth because it's better than the other thing. But, you can say, like, they're betrayed by the things they push for. Like, you often hear, Tucker more offended that Christians are being killed in Palestine than that other people are. You can hear people say, like, I only care about America or Americans. Now, that's all fine if you say your ideology is Christian nationalism. But if you say your ideology is truth, then those positions no longer make sense. But those tend to be the positions of a lot of the people in these groups, right? And, with Eric and Brett, it's like, with Eric, it's more of like this, like, science elitism or whatever it is. Those people are all coalescing. They're consensus building. They're creating a coalition, that we're trying to slice and dice. Right, that somehow October 7th threatened their coalition. Remember when Brett said that the October 7th happened to ruin the coalition that had been built amongst dissenters of COVID. But that's what this is they're trying to, I think, push out a more extreme member of the group the more extreme members of the group they used to belong to, and they're trying to pretend that they're doing an act of heroism for the people as part of that. And that's what this is. Okay, let me finish this part here, and then we'll move on. Here we go.
What does that mean?
Kayfabe is something Eric Weinstein wrote about. He was asked to write an essay with a bunch of other scholarly types. And he said that politics was kayfabe. It was professional wrestling.
Like no one else besides Eric has ever said that politics is professional wrestling.
Right.
And there's all these layers. There's all these tricks. It's way more sophisticated than people think. The way you engage the audience, and you have some reality and some non-reality, and things change. And he talked about politics being kayfabe.
Okay, like there hasn't been at least like 999 other conspiracy theorists that we all knew before we ever heard of Eric Weinstein that offered the same analysis. But somehow, once Eric offers the analysis, then we're ready to adjust the narrative. He just adjusted the narrative on like every psyop of the last decade in
Correct.
this podcast.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Anything you want to say about this, or should I go to the next clip?
I'm going to wait until you go to the next clip just to make sure that I'm not like revealing anything.
Okay. So I kept listening after that, right? Because just like what you said, like, okay, like everything he said, there was like a part I liked, and then there was a part I really didn't like. So where's this going? Right. And then we got to do one part and after this part, I couldn't keep listening because it was just like, okay, like after the Eric thing, I was pretty sure I knew what this was. And after this part, I definitely knew what this was. So here we go.
I do think the original idea of affirmative action makes sense. It basically said, go find people who are being missed. Look into the dusty corners where you normally don't look and see if you find talent, right? There's a famous chemist named Henry Gilman.
I thought the SAT was designed to do that.
No, it turns out the SAT has problems now. And the reason it has problems is because when Kaplan got a hold of it, they for profit coach kids on how to do well. And then they made it such that the SAT could be taken 3 times and you get to use only the one you like. All of a sudden, the cost of maximizing your score on the SAT.
Would this make you buy a Ridge wallet? 2 people.
Can we pause? Because this part of the interview annoyed the fuck out of me. Like, so what? So rich people, which includes every single color and creed and culture, even though they like to pretend that all Black people are poor and on welfare, but it doesn't change the fact that people can study and do well on the SAT. Like, this to me was where, even before he dropped what I know he's about to drop, was like, wait a minute, that's like some weird, twisted, woke bullshit.
Like, what about the idea that just in general, standardized tests are a problem, Kaplan or not, right? Like that standardized test, I agree with your point, but it is true that standardized tests test a specific type of intelligence and doesn't really pay much attention to other types of intelligence. That existed long before Kaplan came in with this profit model.
I understand, but I'm just saying, to Tucker's point,
correct,
that we have this standard, and it's like,
yes.
Yeah, the SAT didn't test my strong suits either, but we know what it tests, so we study what it tests, and who cares if Kaplan exists? Like, that was so lame.
It's lame. But if you're trying to spin a new narrative, if you're trying to touch all the points that people who've been questioning reality for years or decades or whatever care about, right? Then you can, like, it's like, I'm going to throw you a few bones, right? But then I'm also going to give you a poison pill.
Yep.
And if you take the poison pill, I've got you. And most people, because they're so desperate for bones at this point.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
It's a legitimate argument that someone coming out of the hood cannot take the Kaplan course and take the SAT 3 times. But you shouldn't get rid of it. You should.
It's so fucking racist. People coming out of the hood,
right?
Cannot, like, It makes me so mad, this revisionist narrative that Black people cannot go to college.
Well, but also, how many dumb, rich white people have you met in your life? I know a ton of them.
Exactly. And P.S., I went to USC for grad school. I went to school with a lot of dumb, rich white people who bought their way in.
Yes.
I went to UCSB with a lot of smart Black people who earned their way in. This is so lame.
It's so lame, but that it's leading up to the point that is extra lame. So
Correct.
You should just be aware of what it's telling you.
Would it be possible to design a corruption-free screen for intelligence and initiative?
Shut up, racist.
No, but I mean,
No.
so the idea was
charm Tucker by acting just like him.
Yeah.
the
I thought it
SAT
a
was
funny
supposed
moment.
to democratize.
But he's been doing this the whole. If it was just that one moment, you'd have been like, "Oh, that's a funny moment." But he's been buttering his bread the whole way.
Oh, the whole way.
Ties
his tongue is
education. We're just
lodged
going to
in his
locate
throat.
it.
Discover kids who've got double 800s who you wouldn't have spotted.
Exactly.
Right.
And actually, I have a child who got an 800, couldn't get into college. So,
That's
so
a
clearly
lie.
it's
I'm
like the
sorry.
system has gotten so
There's
corrupt.
no
So,
way Tucker's kid scored perfect on the SAT and
No, 800
couldn't get into college.
No. 800 is not perfect. The guy said double.
He said
800.
double 800s.
Double 800, right?
So it's 800 on like the reading shit and 800 on the math shit?
Right. I think he's talking about 800 overall.
No. Go back just to hear the ridiculous narrative that Tucker just tried to weave that his son.
education. We're
scored
just going to
perfect.
locate it.
Discover kids who've got double 800s who you wouldn't have spotted.
Exactly.
Right.
And actually, I have a child who got an 800, couldn't get into college. So, so clearly it's like the system has gotten so corrupt. So, but the idea, and Kaplan, you said, corrupted it as well.
Well, it kind of corrupted the SAT.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So,
Now, the GRE, which is the next level.
The Kaplan's been around since you and I went to college.
Sure. Yeah.
Did you take it? I didn't.
No.
And we did fine.
I got into every college I applied to.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let it go.
Is nowhere near as corrupted because by then the students don't give a damn. They just, I'll take the Jerry, and so it's more legit.
but is there? I mean, but the idea that of a colorblind, class blind, pure, meritocracy test is. I mean, why give up on that?
Here's what I think we should do. I was graduate. I was a director of graduate studies, which involved admission into our grad program for 7 years, record.
This is the kind of aggrandizement that he's been doing the whole time. He is so high on himself, it's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Guy who held the 4 administrative positions in the chemistry department itself. That's pretty good for being the chemistry douchebag. And you learn about things. And I read undergraduate admissions on purpose for a number of years and you read Regents. So I might read Manhattan, for example, and you learn about who's applying and stuff like that. And what I think you want to look for is a system where you see evidence that a kid overcame something. And it's not about color, although you could say non-statistically it's about color, right? But a kid from the Ozarks, J.D. Vance,
Who's not from the Ozarks, by the way.
Okay.
Find his origin story a little suspicious, I must admit. But so we had a kid who applied and everything was sunshines and Skittles, rainbows in his application. And one of his letter writers said his mother died.
Interestingly, on this podcast, is he just questioned the narrative around J.D. Vance. He also questioned the narrative around Mike Benz. And Tucker didn't say, "What do you mean?" He just it just went right along with it. It was kind of interesting.
Here, his father died here. He was raised by his neighbors, and I'm going, and he didn't mention it?
I hope you let him in.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, Jesus.
You give me, in graduate admissions, I see some kid from Stanford with 3.0. I didn't take him because a 3.0 is a kid who accepted a 3.0. You show me, I'll take a 4.0 from St. Mary's College of the Divinity. Because that kid said, here's the highest you can get to. That kid got there, right? MIT kids with lousy GPAs are lousy grad students, even though they're smarter than hell, but they're cocky.
I love that he's calling somebody cocky. All right, we're almost there.
Now, it turns out you show me a kid from Stanford with a 3.0 who played football. I take the kid in a heartbeat. You show me a kid from Stanford who is a 3.0, who is in, who's, brilliant violinist. I'll take that kid. Here's my son. My son applies to Cornell for reasons he was going to get in.
Nepotism.
But
his
Tucker's
resume,
son couldn't get in
I had one
anywhere.
son who was
Correct. Should have applied to Cornell.
underachiever as a kid, who's now phenomenal. And the one who is a superachiever. What's superachieving? And we didn't push him because it was a pain in the ass. We were driving all the time. All-state orchestra, first violin. Gold medalist in the 8th State Regional Gymnastics Championship. 5th in the nation equestrian. Played lacrosse.
Pause.
Got a red.
Is any of that actually possible?
Only
That's
with
not
these kinds of
possible.
Characters. Only with these characters,
But we have to break it down. If you are an all-state orchestra, all-state means you're traveling. Your
Correct.
first violin, you're practicing every day. You have rehearsals for school, plus
Well,
your
also,
recitals.
The fingers you would have for violins wouldn't work in gymnastics. You can't have calluses in the places for violins in gymnastics and have the other one work.
He's 8th State Regional Gymnastics Championship. If that's the case, he's in the
What
gym
does that
6
mean?
days a week.
What does that mean? That's not a thing. 8th State Regional Gymnastics Championship?
Unless their region has 8 states making it up. But regardless, that's your life. That's it.
Okay.
You're not an equestrian champion. You're not a first year. It's not.
And
None
if
of
you
those
play
things are
lacrosse, your legs are this thick, which would make you not good at equestrian and not good at gymnastics.
right. That's the other thing is they don't none of these things go together.
Correct. Yes. All right.
Resume better than that. So here's what happened. My older son, who could care less about school, just nothing. His teacher was a sweet kid, no attention. At one point I said to a teacher, the only kids he's beaten are crack babies. And she kind of blew a snot bubble and then said, yeah. He's now phenomenally successful. He's a super dad. I'm so proud of the level of dadness that he is.
Buckle up.
He's the director of event management at the Council on Foreign Relations.
What did you okay. So I'm so sorry. But if you're coming on here to be the new conspiracy whisperer and you don't even feel the need to question the fact that your child is working for the Council, because that's it. There was no more conversation about the Council on Foreign Relations. He didn't explain, I know it's bad, but Tucker didn't push back. But if you're supposed to be the new conspiracy whisperer and you're proud of your son for working the Council on Foreign Relations,
Oh, big time.
yeah.
So, do you want to play any more from this?
No, I'm tired of him.
I'd like to share something because after I watched, I looked him up. I wanted to see his Wikipedia.
Okay.
He doesn't have a Wikipedia, but this guy popped up. He has the same name. He has a passion to see people meet Jesus and get to know God. And he's former naval intelligence.
Of course.
What are the let's see if I can go back to get the naval part in here. Retired lieutenant from the United States Naval Reserve.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So, that's it on the Dave Collum clips. Did you have anything important that you wanted to say that wasn't covered in either of those?
My clips disappeared into the ethers, so I'm going to go with no.
Okay. All right. Let's play one of your clips.
Okay. I'm going to do, these are going to be brief. I would like to remind us of this fateful.
Good afternoon. I want to welcome these leaders for coming in to have this very important discussion about some of the most pressing issues of our time. I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit. And
Okay. Now I'm hearing this quite a lot, and I'm going to save my main video about this for our next long form show.
Okay. Oh,
But
speaking of long form shows, if you go to wordspodcast.locals.com tomorrow morning, you will find Globalist Fever Dreams there for your enjoyment. Use the promo code Welcome to Words, all one word in capital, for a free month. We'll see you there. Continuing.
Also, thank you for your generous super chats. They really keep us going. We couldn't do this without your generous super chats. So thank you guys for digging deep into those pockets. Okay, so this is coming up a lot in my current research as I dive deep into justice philanthropy, the grift known as justice philanthropy. But I'm just going to give us another taste. Here we go, fair use.
Hi, I'm Hillary Pennington. Thank you for joining us for On What Matters. I'm the Executive Vice President for Programs at the Ford Foundation. I'm a white, middle-aged, small woman with short hair and a pink dress, and my pronouns are she, hers. Today, I'll be speaking with grantee and Ford Global Fellow.
I love that hers is possessive because she's letting us know that as a white woman, everything belongs to her.
Is this like some new sensitivity for blind people that we described?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. So I'm going to give you one more, and then you nailed it, though.
All right.
And my friend, Teresa Njoroge, about her work to restore dignity and hope for people who have been involved in Kenya's justice system. Welcome, Teresa.
Thank you very much for having me, Hillary. I'm so excited to have this conversation. My name is Teresa Njoroge, founder, CEO, Clean Start Solutions Limited, based in Kenya. We work with women, girls, and children who are impacted by the criminal justice system. My pronouns, she, her. A tall Black woman in her 40s.
So her pronouns aren't possessive because she doesn't own anything because she's Black and she couldn't pass the SAT.
Totally.
But yes. So this did emerge out of the activist justice philanthropy grift space. Mm-hmm. And it is so that blind people always feel included. The clip that I didn't bring when I was looking for the Kamala, which I thought was amazing, was the one where she's doing her, I'm a woman wearing a blue suit while someone is signing it in sign language.
Yeah.
So she's signaling to the blind people, but he's signing to the not, whatever.
Like this, blind sensitivity or blindness sensitivity. It's a good title. Anywho.
Do you think it's better than Slice and Dice Coalition?
No, we've used Coalition Slicer Dicer before.
Ah!
We've used it. Coalition Slicer Dicer.
Bullshit.
Right? Remember I requested Sadie, slicing and dicing the coalition.
Correct.
Okay. Here's I used to volunteer at the School for Deaf and Blind in New York.
You're such a good person.
Well, I was trying to get practice doing voiceover, right? And so...
And you were also stealing out of the lost and found because they couldn't see what they lost?
No, I wasn't doing that. I actually enjoyed doing it, but I wouldn't have known to do it if the voiceover teacher hadn't suggested. And he's like, here's something you can do to practice. And I was like, okay, I'll go do that, right? And so I did that for probably 6 months, right? So I was working at the School for the Deaf and the Blind, reading books, recording books on tape, right? I never heard anyone, no one there ever requested that I let all the people there that were blind or whatever know that I'm 5'2" and that I'm wearing a black suit or
Emily, you know that the people that the white saviors are trying to protect never have the problems that the white saviors aim to solve.
So I was working there in 2004, maybe into 2005, right? And so if I had heard that there then and just now it was making it into this mainstream, I would be like, oh, well, that actually comes from them. But the fact that no one ever said that once, no one ever asked me to do anything other than I didn't have to do any weird stuff to be around all the blind and deaf people.
The other thing is that if we're really concerned with ableism, because think of the generalized, I am generalizing, but the generalized pockets of society that are doing this performative bullshit are the ones who are wearing face diapers. How are you honoring the deaf that are dependent upon lip reading by covering your face hole
Correct.
with a performative gag?
Oh, all right. Do you have another one to go along with that, or
I could do my Ben's clips if you would like.
Yes, okay. Speaking of well, I'm not going to say it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going.
We have some super chats. Bridget Luckenbill, thank you so much. Dead
Thank
Star
you,
Cave
Bridget.
Girl, thank you so kindly. All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so this is not new, and as part of my own research, I am going back into Ben's because he seems to be one of the only people I can find talking about this. So I have a few clips from him to just help us understand the landscape, which I feel are still relevant. So here we go, fair use.
If you don't understand the rules of power, you will certainly lose to someone who does.
Quick pause for a second.
Our testimony.
Make it the very small thing in the corner so we don't get a strike.
A strike.
There you go. Perfect.
And I'm going to pull up your beautiful hairdo.
Yay!
As well. Okay, here we go.
And a lot of people were thinking before he took the stand that Trump was going to be in jail as a Russian asset because it was kept under such close hold for 2.5 years.
Right.
What was Bob Mueller doing? There was the SNL sort of fanfare around that. But then when it was revealed he had nothing, there was a moment in time between July 2019 and September 2019 when all of this could have been shut down, and we could have just called all that censorship work counterintelligence, a national security state thing. But they did something really, really nasty at that point, which we now live in the permanent aftermath of, which is they switched from a sort of counterintelligence, national security threat from Russian interference predicate, which is useful because that gives you a blank check to use the Pentagon and the State Department and the IC on this, to a domestic democracy predicate. Now, this is really, really nasty because it basically transitions censorship from being a strictly military thing that we're doing to stop Russia to being a total permeating apparatus over all civilian domestic affairs, regardless of whether there's a foreign threat. And when that was allowed to go unchallenged for effectively 3 years, up until Elon announced the acquisition of X, and that same month the Disinformation Governance Board spilled over, and then Republicans won the House in November 2022, which then allowed congressional hearings on all of this and the elevation of the Twitter files and the public awareness from that. But for 3 years, you had this handoff from Russiagate. I call this the foreign to domestic switcheroo. And if you're interested, Jamie, if you look up, I'm not asking you to, but if you're curious.
Okay, this is the basic gist of him explaining it as though it's better under Elon and Republican House rule. Okay, I have one more around Mike Ben's speaking sanity, and then we'll go into some of the things he leaked that are like, I don't know about you, Mike. Okay, here we go for use.
Okay, this is a culture war, right? And then as I started tracing this and just completely obsessing every day on the research side of this, you'd see these censorship planning conferences with high-ranking military and intelligence officials, and on the panel with them would be Eurasian-focused energy investors and energy companies. And you'd say, well, what are they doing at a censorship conference? Why is Chevron here? Why is Royal Dutch Shell here? Why are representatives from Naftagaz at this conference about disinformation on the internet? And to me, that was one of the early breakthroughs in being able to trace the larger networks and history of it, was the close conjoined nature of censorship and geopolitics, and in particular around the energy world, because going back to this Milton Friedman sort of argument around free markets versus does the government secure the markets. Milton Friedman was once sort of given a sort of Millet style list of entities to afuera, to sort of not, knock out. And when it got to the Department of Energy, he said, keep that one, but fold it under the Department of Defense, because our energy work is basically a subset of our military work, because
Okay, so I want to play a little bit more, but one thing that I want to speak to on this, as I am deep in justice philanthropy research, as you will know when you watch Words 112, is that so there's this whole op that's propping up. They say it's BIPOC and DEI, but right now natives are really, there's this big push from like 2017 onward pushing native. And I have another clip about that. But if we look at the sort of justice philanthropists who are funding all of this, I would say it's 80 to 90% oil and gas money. And the remaining 10 to 20% are all industrials who made their money by displacing indigenous people or destroying indigenous economies by way of, economic warfare. So you have all these philanthropists who made their money by shitting on indigenous people.
Right.
As well as the planet. And then they claim to be using their money to save indigenous people and to save the planet. But we know that that's all a lie, to just allow them to get, the rights in the land.
Kind of like in Germany, how they suppress criticism of Israel, right? Like you can't have a Palestinian protest. It's basically like that. So it's making me, listening to him, and then certainly listening to what you just said, made me think of, who Chase Hughes is?
I know the name.
So he's I got introduced to him from because he works with Danny Goler, the DMT guy, right? And Chase used to work in military and intelligence and psyops and stuff like that. And have some degree of suspicion of him for all the correct reasons. But sometimes with some of these people, the more you watch them and the more you listen to them, you become less suspicious, whereas most people you become more suspicious. And there is something about him that I'm I'm skeptical and careful, but he does seem to be singing a different tune than other people who've tried to play that role before. And I'm curious as to why that is. But he had a really good short the other day where he was talking about a very simple way to recognize whether something's a psyop. Certainly not an exhaustive way, but for the average person, is if some agenda requires the suppression or the silencing of anybody, then it's a psyop. So if whatever operations, be they land grabs or some false climate change, green credits bullshit, or whatever it is that the oil company wants to do, right? It really requires to suppress a group of people, right? Or to silence a group of people. But it doesn't look good if the oil company suppresses or silences them. So go out and find a cause that would be a group of people that by pushing their cause would require the suppression or the silencing of these other people who oppose the cause. And then it looks like these previously suppressed people are suppressing or trying to even out the score between some group they feel suppressed by socially or culturally or whatever it is, right?
Correct.
So that's what that is.
Correct.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. So I'm not sure if it's worth playing the clips. I'm just recognizing our time. But basically, in this interview, Benz mentions the existential threats that we're facing that are catastrophic and will wipe out, which we know is one of their talking points. And he also mentions the homeland. Right. And now we have to protect
whenever anybody displays the fucking homeland, I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
What did you just do? Your sound finally came on.
My sound wasn't on before? What do you mean?
Well, I was having to turn I had to turn my volume up to max to hear you and then turn it down to minimum to hear the clips. But whatever you just did, I can hear you.
Okay, so I had my microphone in before, and the microphone is worse. I'm not on my usual setup. I'm at the house in Los Angeles, and I don't have my usual thing. So I have a different microphone here that isn't as good. This is with the microphone on. Do you like this, or you want me to unplug the microphone?
Was it on the whole time?
Yeah.
You sound good now.
Okay.
But you just you did a gesture and your sound kicked in.
When I did the gesture, it unplugged the microphone for a second.
Unplug it.
Okay. Hold on. Is that better?
Way.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Way.
From then. Good to know. Sorry, I didn't realize there was a sound problem. I wish you would have told me earlier. I'd have unplugged it earlier. Okay. Taking the microphone away.
Okay, sorry about that. So, I don't feel like there's any need to play the Benz just revealing himself unless you feel like we need to hear that.
Okay. I'll turn my own microphone up too. You should have told me. I would have turned it up.
I didn't even realize it till you were playing the Tucker clip that was like I had to turn it way down. Sorry, I'm not well attuned to that.
Am I too loud now?
You're pretty loud.
Okay, is that better?
That's great.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so this just came out on Monday, just to we can see what's happening with the native, but I know I don't need to say this with our crew. We all get it. When I criticize PSYOPs, I'm not criticizing the people. I have no issue with Native people. I love and respect Native people. I have no issue with gay people, but the rainbow op. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just
We don't like ops. We don't like ops because they're designed to silence and suppress. Duh. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So this is what's happening at the DNC. Oops. And now we get a
commercial. Yay!
Hooray!
Now, please welcome a friend of mine from the Minnesota DFL, their treasurer, and her name is Lindy Somek, who is from the Saginaw Ojibwe Nation, and she's going to deliver our land acknowledgement today. Lindy.
Bonjour, Lindy Somek, Indigenous Cause, Amik Dodam, Saginaw Chippewa Dojaba, Anishinaabe Kwe and Dow. Good morning, DNC members, friends, and relatives. Let's talk about the land for a second. The DNC acknowledges and honors the Dakota Oyate, the Dakota people, who are the original stewards of the lands and waters of Minneapolis. The Dakota cared for the lands, lakes, and the Wapatonka, the Great River, the Mississippi River, for thousands of years before colonization. This land was not claimed or traded. It's a part of a history of broken treaties and promises. And in many ways, we still live in a system built to suppress indigenous.
Good.
We couldn't even get through a minute and a half without commercials.
People's cultural and spiritual history. As Democrats, I ask of every one of you to not allow land acknowledgements like these to simply be the checking of a box. Be curious, ask questions, ensure our Native neighbors are heard, and work in partnership with your Indigenous communities. Honor the legacy of this land and its people by engaging today with each other with honesty, humility, respect, and compassion. Chimiigwech, and thank you so much.
Okay. So
is bonjour a Dakota a Dakota word?
Apparently. But so to be clear, I agree. We would be wise to honor those who came before us, to learn the native ways of living in harmony with the earth. There's no question. But I can speak to what is happening here in northern New Mexico, where there is a land back activism movement. And that's what this is, right? And a big part of it is that we have to acknowledge those who came before, but the native activists will erroneously claim, at least here, that the Tiwa were the ones who originally had this land, just like this woman is claiming that the Dakota people were the original stewards of the land. I can't speak for what's happening there. What I can speak to here is that's fucking bullshit. All the tribes fought with different tribes to claim this land. There were wars before the white men came and conquered this land. And at least here, anthropologists has found there was an entire race of people that they call the Plains people that were wiped out around 1100 that predate the native people by hundreds and hundreds of years. So this whole thing is performative optics because who had it before your people had it? And how far back are we going to go? Or can we, for once, just stay present? Just be present and focus on where we want to go instead of this ridiculous, like looking back into our victimhood constantly game.
For people who haven't been following along for the last couple of weeks, Dani is working on a lengthy project that involves said topic, and that's why it's come to the sort of forefront here. But no, I agree with you. It's kind of like you can't pay attention to the road in front of you if you're like stuck in the rearview mirror, right? Like when I used to get high, I'd be like looking for cops behind me. And so I'd be like looking in the rearview mirror and not paying attention to what's going on in front of me, right? Kind of thing. But that's what this is. It's like people cannot make good decisions about forward movement when they're being forced to be super concerned about it. It's not that we should have no regard for the past, but it's different, right? Like it's your point is well taken, but that's the reason is because someone cannot pay attention to what's in front of their face if they're being forced to constantly look behind them.
Correct. And it's also how much of this, because I am unpacking, like what I am unpacking definitely involves the native activism grift and why the native grift has been inserted in this specific way in which corporate scumbags are benefiting from it, but it all is contingent upon their stories. I don't want to generalize because it's not everyone by any means, but it's this radical activism that alleges that there is a monolith called Indians who were always peaceful, who never fought, who never hurt a fly until white men came in and ruined everything. And there's no acknowledging of the infighting, of the violent brutality of tribes like the Apaches or the Cherokees. And again, it's not to say that there aren't benefits that come from those tribes, but it's such a whitewashing of history that's propping up this nonsense.
Right. It's like that you can't fight one bad oversimplified narrative with another bad oversimplified narrative, right? There's complexities to all of this. So
correct. And this pandering that the DNC is now doing is just, it's as retarded as like, my name's Dani, I'm a Jewish woman with a freckle on my elbow and a flowered shirt.
I was surprised she didn't describe her clothes to us. Yes.
Well, one of them, which I didn't bring, is this woman who claims to be a black woman, and I'm like, that is not a black woman. Like, if they're gonna do this, you can't lie. You can't.
Like Sean King or something. Right. Yeah. Right. Or Rachel Dolezal or whatever, right? All right. Should we go to the Glenn and Whitney clips?
Yes.
All right. So for those of you who will watch our regular podcast, you'll notice that we played it there and we're playing it here. Partly for kind of different reasons. But yes, it's getting played twice. But here we go.
There are many of us that saw an appearance by Ian Carroll on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was talking about your work. And I have had this question for quite some time. Why haven't you been on to Joe Rogan's podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I've been name dropped on there by Rogan and other people and have not been invited on. And I mean, obviously it's fine. I don't need to go on there. But I found it strange that, he would have another person on to talk about my book. That's not me. And I would argue, again, this is speculative, but I would argue that, the fact that I don't really like either party is very inconvenient to some large platforms. And so, instead, a person that, promoted my research, which, thanks for doing that, but that promoted my research, but their solution, unlike mine, is to vote Trump. I think that's more convenient. It's a more convenient package for my research than perhaps what I would say. And also in that appearance, Ian Carroll, even though he promoted my book, said that my work on Peter Thiel and Palantir was unhinged. was the term that he used.
Pause.
Without really explaining so. And it's kind of,
I think there's like any level of paranoia about Peter Thiel and Palantir that at this point could be considered unhinged. He's about to give a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist in Silicon Valley this week.
Oh, I saw it. I want to go. Like, I know he's charging. I'm like, I want to see this so badly. Because he also mentions Francis Bacon. So I send it to Robert Frederick. But what I love about this is that after that Rogan interview where he called her unhinged, Ian did so much post ass kissing, and I love that it didn't work, and she brought it up. I fucking love that.
Yep.
of ironic that he would do that, because for being such a big fan of my book, at the end of the book, I talk about how Palantir is the new Jeffrey Epstein. And in the age of Palantir, you do not need someone like Jeffrey Epstein or any other figure in history that engaged in sex blackmail. You don't need to do that kind of operation anymore. You can just either harvest all of the data you would need for blackmail off of people's digital devices, or you plant things on their devices that are incriminating but don't actually belong to them.
Do you think?
And Peter Thiel and Epstein had a significant relationship. More has come out about it, from mainstream sources in the past few months. I first wrote about their overlap in 2019. And so, it's been part of my work on Epstein for a long time, and I don't really think you can separate my work on Peter Thiel and Epstein, to be honest, because they ultimately are in service to the same end game, I would think.
A lot of it is partisan. Do you think that's why you're not on a lot of the large left YouTube shows as well? It's something I've noticed. You've been on my show, obviously Bree's show, Bad Faith. I've seen you on Katie Halper, but I noticed that people have pointed this out. They said, why isn't Whitney Webb invited onto the large left shows, the ones that have like 1 million subscribers?
I don't know. I think
have to say I love the faces that she makes and the gestures she gives, but
I found her so likable in this
interview. Yeah,
big time.
It might have something to do with my stance during COVID. I was very against a lot of the authoritarian policies that were implemented. I wrote a lot about, how the formation of the biosecurity state, where national security and public health have fused, the role of Palantir. I criticized, the vaccine rollout, Operation Warp Speed, having that led by the military under Trump. I mean, among other things, but, I don't really know. I'm sure I have stances that bother them beyond that, and then I know, of course, that there's a particular...
This is the main point here.
Figure on the... Well, I don't even know if he's considered on the left anymore, but he doesn't like me. That would be Glenn Greenwald. I did some critical reporting back when I was on Mint Press about The Intercept, and how so many of their whistleblowers went to prison, allegedly due to reporter malfeasance. Not Greenwald specifically, but other people that were there at the time he was there. And also, wrote an article criticizing the Intercept's closure of the Snowden archives, the Snowden documents, because, less like 90% of the Snowden documents were never published. And now it's closed, so bye. And I, talked about how the owner of PayPal, Pierre Omidyar, was also the owner of The Intercept and PayPal, and also Omidyar's eBay, had longstanding connections to, intelligence world. And Pierre Omidyar was one of the most frequent visitors to the Obama White House and things like that. And Greenwald said that Omidyar had no influence on The Intercept at all at the time, and really does not like me. So...
Oh my gosh. I didn't know.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, I went hard at Greenwald for that because I thought he was the greatest when the Snowden stuff came out. And I found that very disappointing. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really want to continue having a beef with him necessarily. And I stand by my reporting from that time. I don't think it was right what happened to Reality Winner and some of these other people that went to jail, because I thought it was safe to send documents to The Intercept.
Okay, so we played that in our regular podcast, again, coming out tomorrow, Globalist Fever Dreams, Words 112. But we played it we played it by itself, and we did dig into a little bit Pierre Omidyar and some of the different things being discussed there. But the main reason I played it again here is because since we recorded on Monday, there has been sort of an undercover, under the guise of something else, response to this from Glenn Greenwald.
I thought it was definitely because of this.
100%, but they did it under the guise of somebody asked a question.
Correct.
Right?
A listener has a question.
Right. A listener often asks questions. Ask this question. All right, let's get to that. And here we go. Oh, another. We get 2 commercials, man. Glenn doesn't want this talked about.
I am on the verge of throwing down to not get the commercials.
Me too. I was thinking about that earlier in this.
Last question from Curl.
As you guys would prefer this show to be more streamlined and Emily and me to not have to deal with the commercials, your super chats are the only thing that's going to allow that to happen. No pressure. And thank you for digging deep for us. We love you.
All right, here we go.
Malone, who is a regular question asker and a longtime member of our local community, for which we thank you. Can you please clarify your view of Whitney Webb's work? Are you of the opinion that she is a misguided, honest broker of journalism, or she is malicious and the errors you claim are, quote, unhinged? I've looked closely at everything cited by you and Tracy as errors and found the claims to have as much merit as Mehdi Hassan badgering Taibbi for having misspoke. Do you just not like her as a person? I have followed her for 7 years or so after I heard her on Tim Dillon's old podcast, and I've found her to be genuine in her beliefs. So, I
do respect that he did answer this, because we know a lot of other people like Dave Rubin and people like that who just duck it. So I do appreciate that at least he's responding, but we'll see what we think of his response.
There have been times I've listened to Whitney Webb. She's clearly a very smart person. She's very well spoken. I think she's very diligent. You know, she doesn't just speak off the cuff. I think she really does a lot of work on the areas that she covers. My problem with Whitney Webb is, and I think, you know, this is, I think understandable, is you have this experience where you can read or assess.
Plus, he's already dissociating. Notice how he switched from first person to second person.
Yep.
Media reports and feel like this seems propagandistic. I can identify errors here or deceitful passages, and you know, you're kind of pretty sure that that's the case, but you're not 100% sure. But then there are times when you're in the news and when people are writing about you, and so you have firsthand knowledge of what is actually happening. So if somebody's writing things about you and what you've done and what's being done that you know is false, you don't have any doubts about the fact that what's being written is false. And there were a lot of articles that she wrote when we first created The Intercept, in our reporting on the Snowden archive, that were just simply fabricated and made up and false, just insanely conspiratorial. I mean, she believed and often asserted that Pierre Omidyar paid us $250 million because he was tied to the deep state and he was trying to privatize the Snowden archive in order to prevent it from being disclosed further. This was...
You mean like he did?
Exactly. And I'm really disappointed in Glenn for his use of conspiratorial, that he would stoop that low. And all of his adjectives and adverbs are totally out of line. Like, if she is connecting dots, there's logic behind it. Like, she's not pulling shit out of her ass here.
Also, one of the things that I don't like about Glenn is, and because there's a lot of things I don't like about Glenn, and the most interesting thing about this squabble between them is, for the most part, I'd say they occupy a very similar place in my mind, where I like both of them, but there are things about them that I've not liked, that I think they've done a lot of good work, but there's something about them that for some reason I'm uneasy about. Yep. And so I did not realize that they had this squabble, though, until this thing happened last week. I did not know about this squabble. Yep. So a lot is coming to light sort of in this squabble here. But one of the things I do dislike about Glenn is that if it's a conspiracy he likes, it's hard-hitting research and journalism. If it's a conspiracy he doesn't like or doesn't know anything about yet and it sounds crazy to him, it's too conspiratorial or unhinged or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, this is a week, like, he had to know that he was going to do this. And his performance is not convincing
Not good.
at all.
Yeah.
So moronic for so many reasons. Pierre Midyar didn't invest $250 million in The Intercept. He invested that in his big, broad media company, of which the
First Look, Midyar Network, which we talked about in our show.
Intercept was a small part. Even when we went to The Intercept, there were only 2 people on the planet who had control of the full archive, myself and Laura Poitras. So nobody could decide what could and couldn't be disclosed. He had no way
Then why don't you disclose them now? It's not too late. Disclose them.
Right.
to try and suppress things from that he and his CIA friends wanted suppressed. I knew this for a fact. He never even attempted to exert the slightest amount of influence in the reporting that we were doing about anything, let alone the Snowden reporting. Never once any attempt by him or anyone associated with him to influence it, let alone pay money to hide documents that were incriminating, as though we would do that to Snowden, as though Snowden would know that that was happening and not object, even though he gave up his life. The whole thing was so idiotic. But the kind of conspiracy theory that if you don't know anything, it seems, like maybe you should believe it. Like, hey, there's this billionaire here and he does have ties to, defense contractors like almost every billionaire does. And why did he invest all this money in a media outlet? Probably because he wants to buy the Snowden archive for himself, have it as his private property, and then prevent it from being disclosed. None of that happened. It just didn't happen. And it didn't matter how often I demonstrated that, how often I said it. You can find so many. So for me, the first encounter that I had with her, and obviously this is going to shape your perception, is not that she just once made a mistake or once wrote an article that was kind of off base. It's that she wrote continuously articles based on assertions of conspiracy theories that I knew firsthand and know to this day firsthand are just made up, like untrue, demonstrably false.
Okay, well, where's your evidence of that?
Right. And also, he's just so over the top unhinged. I don't think it's out of line to think if Midyar is funding.
It's like when RFK talks about Israel, he behaves totally different than when he talks the rest of the time.
Correct.
Yeah. He had 9 minutes here to say, look, the things she says about the Pierre Midyar and the Snowden archive are false, and here's my evidence. Right. But the main thing is, and everybody should be wondering why it is, and we should ask Glenn Greenwald, and we should ask Laura Poitras, and we should ask we should ask Glenn and Laura if they have a copy and they haven't signed any deal to not release it. Well, then why not just release it? Right. Just dump it. Right. Yeah. And then also we should ask Snowden, why are you okay with the fact that there's still 90% of the documents that haven't been released? These are all. And so I think, right. And so, all right, it's demonstrably untrue. Let's see it, Glenn.
And obviously, if you're the subject of those kind of articles by one particular person, again, many over the course of several years, you're going to end up being quite skeptical of the rest of the work that they've done. It doesn't mean that I discount the rest of what she's done. I have nothing against her personally. I don't know her personally. I never really had any personal interactions with her. Maybe once I did, that was initiated by me saying something negative about her work, and it might have been acrimonious. I don't even remember if that's true. I honestly don't have anything personal against her.
For someone who doesn't remember, but then he comes across an acrimonious.
Right. He describes the interaction that he doesn't remember.
He just can't remember.
Yeah.
Sure.
You need to look yourself.
Okay, I don't think we need to play any more of it. I think that's basically the gist of it, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree? I recommend people go listen to it because he also has things to say about Michael Tracy's reporting on Whitney Webb and whatever it is. But to me, what has happened here in the last week was fascinating just because, like what I said, to me, they occupied similar kinds of places. Now they're going at it. There's been some clarity about the discomfort around Glenn, which is all discomfort that I already had. I already knew all of those things, but I did not know that the reason he's never had Whitney Webb on or doesn't ever talk about her work or whatever is because she noticed the same things that I noticed, but she just wrote articles about them, right? I would love I would love for him to, if he could demonstrate that what she says is untrue, then that would confirm in the opposite direction the discomfort and the suspicions. I somehow don't think that is coming, though. And I have noticed for someone who is so good at showing evidence, documenting facts, building a case and a narrative, he is a lawyer. There's been a couple of times in the last year or so that we have caught him stating something is undoubtedly true without showing any evidence of it.
Correct. And two things that I just want to mention, because we didn't stop it. He calls her assertions moronic.
Moronic, yeah.
And I don't think that they're moronic at all. I thought it was like really strong. But for people who are going to tune in to Words 112, which drops tomorrow, Omidyar has something called Democracy Fund, which is pretty much in every quote unquote independent newsroom in the entire country. And what we go over in this show is how Omidyar is controlling the press. So Glenn left that out.
Right. But also, here's the other thing. Like, we should have questions about his ability to like question authority if he doesn't understand why he's like, they assumed that he started The Intercept just to trick us into giving him the documents so he could have them. Like, yes, that would be what somebody would do. You want to, massage a narrative or create, close something off. You do that by extending yourself to people who are the truth tellers and making them trust that they can rely on you to do their stuff. And then you inch by inch, row by row, pull it out from under them to the point that Glenn Greenwald left there a couple of years ago, right? Because they wanted to edit his story on it was about the Russiagate, or I think it was a Russiagate kind of thing, right? I think that's what it was. And so then he left The Intercept because he didn't like that. Right. So it's kind of like, and I asked this question in our show the other day, is he just like another Jimmy Dore that has to like get everything wrong before they get it right? I sort of don't see him like that. He seems smarter than that to me. So it seems willful. But also, as soon as he left there, he went right to Peter Thiel. And just so people know, Pierre Omidyar bought PayPal from Peter Thiel. So Pierre Omidyar, by extension, is part of the PayPal mafia. He owns PayPal, and eBay had PayPal as their main sort of payment provider through all of that, right? So whether you look to the left, which Pierre Omidyar claims to be, or whether you look to the right, we're dealing with the same cadre of people that have the same skeleton of a surveillance system built throughout all of their stuff.
Correct. And I just want to acknowledge, because we have a very active chat right now.
Hey.
Neither Emily nor I are using this as a means of saying Whitney is always right, or that we're giving our allegiance to Whitney. And I think I can say that more so for you, Emily, than me. We're not saying that, but we're saying in this instance, especially coming off the heels of doing a 2-hour show on Omidyar and how much control over media he is exerting, all we're saying is that Glenn's debunking of Whitney's take is lackluster at best.
And every time, so like I said, I naturally have suspicions of both of them, right? And every time someone does a moronic takedown of her, then I ask myself, have I gotten this wrong? Right? Her issue with him is not moronic. And so to me, that ends up getting her some credibility with me, which doesn't mean that I don't trust anyone hook, line, and sinker. I have like 3 to 5 people in my life that I pretty much fully trust. And even that's challenging for me, right? It's definitely not any of these, famous millionaires that I don't know, right? But yeah, and also big thanks to the chat for showing up in a big way with the vote on get rid of the commercials. So
we've gotten so many super chats. So first of all, in honor of the super chats, Emily, I think we both have to upgrade to premium because everyone is kicking in.
We'll do it. We'll do it. Thank you. Thank you so much for the generous super chats, our friends.
Thank you, Maceo. Thank you, Jim.
Christine. Yes,
Bridget.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Loud and clear. You all have been heard. So anyway, that those are those clips, but I'm enjoying this little back and forth, and hopefully there'll be another round of it that actually forces someone to put up or shut up.
Correct. I think Whitney is handling herself like
I loved it. Yeah.
She's still neutral.
That was my favorite Whitney little clip ever, and that was like one of my least favorite Glenn clips ever.
Totally.
All right. Do you have any more clips, or do we just want to see my last little witness protection clip?
I have one more. It's not a clip, and I haven't. Oh, wait, hang on. Let me What?
That was your bikinis.
A star for Dani's bikini top go. I am so upset about losing that bikini top. You guys have no idea. So thank you, Thor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's funny, Steve. Good sense of humor. Everybody, much love to Steve, right? Steve had the memorial for both of his parents this past weekend. which has to be hard. But Steve has spent almost all of his adult life caring for other people, whether they be the elderly people in his life or those of us in the alternative media who need a little help with something now and again. So much love to you, Steve. And I hope that you spend the next many years just doing whatever the fuck it is you want to do without much concern for anyone else. So yes.
For sure. All right. So I saw this on Al Jazeera, which I mean, I could use this. I just taught a free pop propaganda webinar, and this would be a great example of editorialization and unethical journalism. So aside from the nonsense, the president pushes baseless claim, whoever wrote this should be fired. Trump threatens, we know it's fake Trump, so it's not real Trump, but the fake Trump who no longer makes the gesture with his hands is threatening to charge Soros and his son with RICO charges, which would be fucking awesome if fake Trump can pull it off.
Dani would be for fake Trump if that happened. She'd be like, fake Trump is better than real Trump.
Notice, guys, just notice how fake Trump doesn't do this anymore.
Fake Trump doesn't do this is a good title.
Fake Trump doesn't have the standard issue Trump.
I mean, he can't vote. He's not like coalition's laser either. All right. Last little clip here. I saw this and I was like, what the fuck is this, dude? Right? Has Chris Williams joined the
Richard Feynman's love letter to his wife?
No, I read The Pleasure of Finding Things Out.
Not be able to say this without crying.
Is that
why does he need to tell us what he read? The answer is no. Like, we get it. You've read books. You haven't read that book. Move on.
But what is this? Is this?
He's trying to be Ian Carroll. Ian Carroll is getting more press than Chris Williamson, so he's like, well, maybe if I look like Ian Carroll, I'll get back into the public's great graces.
So does he have a new show, not Chris Williams anymore? Is this his new show, Spark Growth Official?
Click it.
I did. I couldn't understand that it was like some other weird thing. But I thought Chris Williamson was blonde. Suddenly he's like redhead curly. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Are you sure it's him?
That's what I'm asking.
Which is going to be very embarrassing, but I'm going to try.
He also used to be attractive.
Well, his face seems a little asymmetrical. Maybe this is a deep fake. Maybe this is AI. Or maybe he's in the witness protection program. I haven't seen his shows coming up in my feed lately, but if it's not him, then it's pretty weird that there's like another podcaster out there that like looks that close to him.
And sounds like him.
And sounds exactly like him. I mean, maybe
Have you ever read Richard Feynman's love letter to his wife?
No, I read The Pleasure of Finding Things Out.
Not be able to say this without crying, which is going to be very embarrassing, but I'm going to try. October 17th, 1946.
That's his body. He's got those big muscles like that.
Arlene, I adore you, sweetheart. I know how much you like to hear it, but I don't only write it because you like it. I write it because it makes me
And also, what the fuck is this?
warm all over inside to write you. It is such a terribly long time since I last wrote to you, almost 2 years, but I know you'll excuse me because you understand how I am, stubborn and realistic, and I thought there was no sense to writing. But now I know, my darling wife, that it is right to do what I have delayed in.
Okay, I can't listen to any more of that. But
I thought he was gonna cry. Why did he tell us he was gonna cry and he's not crying? Like,
no, he just stares straight ahead like a sociopath. And he just recites it with like no passion, right? The whole thing is so weird. Like, maybe that's a deep fake, but I'm like Chris Williams in the witness protection program. Chris Williamson, sorry, I always forget if it's Williams or Williamson. All right, shall we go to the chat room while I have about 10% left before I need to go charge my computer?
Set it up, baby.
All right, guys, you know what to do. All capital letters.
If you have questions for
questions, comments.
Also, ladies, recommend comfortable bathing suits, please. I don't know what to do.
No vote Trump. Let's see. Yep. How Heart Wellness says that's him. He just usually keeps his hair curled. I just thought he had blonde hair. I didn't realize he was a curly redhead. So interesting. Jeff, He's your type. Jeff likes redheads. All right.
Does he?
Yeah.
Does he have a redhead fetish?
It's like the weirdest thing ever when somebody reveals to you like something you didn't know about them is that I only like redheads. I was like, I've never heard somebody be like, I only like redheads before, right?
I've had 2 redhead boyfriends. Is that true? Maybe
I've heard plenty of people say I don't like redheads, but I've never heard someone before say I only like redheads.
no blondes though. I can't do the blonde thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a result of growing up in the 70s where like that Ken aesthetic was shoved down our throat. I'm kind of repelled. No
Yeah.
offense to blondes. Emily, Christine would like to know what your MBTI type is. I don't know what that is.
What is that?
I don't know.
What I don't know what MBTI
Yes.
type is.
MB, what is your manufacturing base transistor ignoramus type?
Look at Slick Dissident's comment. The word mustache is not what it seems, and the art of the mustache is not for the faint of mouth.
It's a caterpillar mushroom?
Yeah. Okay, Christine, I'm waiting for you to tell me what that is so I can answer.
Do you want to duck go it? Thank you, Jerusha!
Oh, your thing is faster than mine. I don't see that yet. Thank you, Jerusha. All right, MBTI is Myers-Briggs. Yes, I've heard of Myers-Briggs.
Oh, I'm the unhireable one. The hang on. Do you know what yours is?
If I look at I'm going to look at it, and then when I see the one that it is, I'll know it. I'm opening it up to look at it.
I once did a Myers-Briggs like employment test, and when it came to mine, it was like you are unhireable.
All right, I'm looking for the list of the different types.
I think I'm INFTP. I'm pretty sure that's what I am.
INFTP. Yeah, I don't know what I am. I can't.
I'm the asshole type.
Oh.
Are you shocked?
I think I've taken it before. I think I took it. I remember like 20 years ago when I was having trouble growing up and finding myself, which I still struggle with. Like some friend of my dad's who like assesses people to help them find like a career path or whatever gave me this. Yes.
INTFP.
Basically found that I was a pain in the ass. I think that was the result, was that I was a pain in the ass.
Hayden would like to know if you saw the elephant graveyard video.
I did see the elephant graveyard video. I watched the first few minutes of it. It's a long video. I haven't had a chance to watch it all, but it is in my list to watch. And I still have your list of red bars that I need to look at too. It's been difficult.
I haven't looked at that either. I've been watching all the Ford Foundation super boring, pathetic videos.
Yeah.
Christine, I think I'm INF/TP. I think I split the F and the T.
Christine, what do you guess mine is so I can look up what that is and see if I agree?
Strawberry shortcake?
But have you seen that elephant graveyard video, Dani? It's about how comedy, like Joe Rogan, basically brought comedy to Austin to die, and evidence of that is that we all know who Brett Weinstein is.
Oh, I want to see that. Will you send it?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah.
You know what I have been watching today, but I didn't clip it. Is Brendan O'Connell, the manufactured spectacle of Ian Carroll, Candace Owens, and Tucker Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good, but I just figured I'm sick of bringing stuff that only validates what you and I say all along. I don't know that there's a lot of value in just showing everyone that we're right all the time.
Yeah. ENTJ. Okay, now that you say ENTJ, John Brisson used to tell me he was pretty sure I was an ENTJ. So I don't know what. Let me look up what that means again. I remember this conversation with John now. Let me see.
While you look that up, Jerusha would like you to know that you look really pretty today, Emily, and you've got great lighting there in Cali.
Thank you. Okay, so the ENTJ is a Myers-Briggs personality type characterized by extroversion, intuition, thinking, and judging traits, indicating that they are energetic, conceptual, logical, and structured individuals. Yeah,
do you identify as an extrovert?
So like I'm an introverted extrovert, right? So like I like I definitely am extroverted, but most people, because of how they know me out in the world and in social settings, would not guess that like I don't really like to have people over to my house. I like to be quiet at home, right? Like, or maybe not quiet, like I might make noise, but it's just like me singing songs to myself or chattering, whatever, like, so I have like my external personality and then like my internal personality. But yes, I'd say that is mostly the ENTJ is mostly correct for me.
Cool.
Good job, Christine.
Jim would like to know, in your opinion, does the shit show end or do we need to just write it out? I'm going to shut that shit down and save the world.
Well, I mean, I think it's always there, and it's just that eventually we all will become finally like, it's kind of like how it was with meth for me. Like I got to the point where like after the millionth time of thinking that somehow this binge was going to be different, I wasn't going to stay up too long, I wasn't going to skip work, I wasn't going to blah, 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 blah. Eventually I just realized that like, no, it's the same every time. And like, this is boring. Like, I think eventually like we'll get to the point where we've exhausted every angle of analysis, every angle of thinking that we can do something. It's just like basically we'll accept it as a commercial running on the television and we can go outside. And we just haven't figured out the dimensions of that room yet. Like we still think that like inside is in our house and outside is out there. But I think that outside out there is an inside to a larger thing that we haven't figured out yet. And I don't mean it like escaping. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just more understanding like all of the dimensions of reality that are available to us and not just the ones we've been trained to focus on.
Okay, so my take on it, Jim, and to be clear, I'm looking at my Gene Keys profile. I've got justice in the life's work. I've got the gift of idealism in the pearl, and I got another justice below it. So that pretty much props me up. I think that we're going to shut their shit down and liberate humanity. But I have been known to lean towards the delusional.
we watched this TV series called You that was really good. It was like a a thriller, like a psychological thriller. And there was this chick in it who, when she would talking about someone who was delusional, she'd call them Delulu.
No, that's a phrase.
I love
like,
Delulu.
No, that's going around these days. Delulu's like a new.
I bet you it came from that. The show's a few years old, so I bet you Delulu came from that.
But I like that you called her a chicken. Can we call our show Delulu Chicken?
Delulu Chicken? I didn't know I called her a chicken. I thought I said chick, but I like Delulu Chicken.
But you said chick-in. So
chicken Delulu. I got you.
Yeah, so I heard chicken.
Delulu Chicken. Okay, we can do Delulu. That's definitely on the ballot.
I don't have anything else written down except for possessive pronouns.
About 3% left, so I think we need to wrap up this.
All right, we love you guys. Check out Words 112 tomorrow. Welcome to Words, all caps, gets you in for free. We love you.